So before I started this episode of Demi-chan, I thought I was going to be getting a Succubus Sensei episode, like a complete episode focusing on her backstory, to her upbringing, to what has made her who she is today. I thought that's what this episode is going to be about because of, last week's preview, which completely misled me. I honestly thought I was going to get an episode like that, but no, I did not get that. However, I had two new characters introduced, which do revolve around Succubus Sensei and kind of what is going on with her as a Demi. So in a way, we did get a lot of information on her, but I was hoping to get more of a, backstory to her, like flashbacks to how her middle school days were, high school days, just everything. I was hoping to get something like that, but however, we did not. But let us talk about the new characters that were introduced. Two new characters. We have an adult one that was kind of like a police officer, a police detective that looks into Demis, for instance, mainly Succubus. And then you have another kid that's a boy that has been introduced, and he seems to be some form of like student learning underneath the police detective that is kind of like a weapon against Succubus. Now, from what I can gather from this episode, like with the little details here and there, I'm going to assume that the boy is a Demi. That'll mean that this is the first male Demi we have seen in the series so far, and also, what could he possibly be? Now, there's two things that I'm figuring out that might be this character, what this character could be. Either one, this character is a male succubus, which is a incubus? I think that's the name. I could be wrong there, but I could have sworn that the male equivalent to a succubus is an incubus. Now, if I got that wrong, please forgive me, but I could have sworn it's an incubus. And if it's not that, I'm going to assume that the boy is gay, or another type of Demi that I'm unaware of, because judging by how many were saying he's very similar to Succubus Sensei, how he gives off that vibe, I'm going to assume that this boy is something similar to Succubus, which would be an incubus, but that could be something else entirely, or the boy's gay, one or the other, because that was mentioned in this episode, that the only people that could possibly resist Succubus Sensei would be someone that's either gay, or someone that has just, like, no sexual desires at all, like, they have none. And so, because of this, I'm going to assume most likely it's something like that. Now, besides that, however, when it comes to the police detective that was introduced in this episode, I love his introduction. I like how he was described at the beginning of the episode. I was like, whoa, when I started this episode, because I posted on Twitter when I started the episode, like, you have it to where, Hikari, she's describing whatever she saw. She saw this man that looked like a bear, and then Takahashi-sensei's like, holy crap, it looks exactly like a bear, and you see this big, like, picture on the, the whiteboard and all that, and you just see a bear shape. I'm like, did they just draw Peto Bear? Like, I'm not even shitting you. Like, I'm just saying, if you're aware of Peto Bear, like, the entirety of how he looks, then if you compare that portrait to, like, the picture that Takahashi-sensei drew to Peto Bear, I'm like, that's like a buff Peto Bear. Like, what the fuck? So what a way to start an episode of Demi-chan. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, anyways, the character didn't turn out to be like that. That was the way he was being described. And overall, he seemed to be a down-to-earth guy that was very nice and kind, and was kind of more like a father figure to Succubus Sensei, and how she kind of became who she was today. So that goes into one of the big points of this episode, or the theme. The theme of the episode is to show that there is more out there besides what's going on in the school, which we're already well aware of. We know that there's other stuff going on out there, how, the world is trying to accept Demis for what they are, and how the world is kind of mellowed out, and it's no longer just judging a Demi because they're a Demi, but now they're just trying to be integrated into society, like how vampires now are able to get blood bags and stuff, or, how Dullahan, how they're being, treated now, and how they're being treated in a way that's just not out of place or out of norm now. We see a lot of changes in society going on in this series. And in this case, we get to see an outsider's perspective of how they view inside the school, like how the school's going on, but also what they're doing to actually better society as well. And as we know, throughout the entirety of Demi-chan, it's mainly a series about Takahashi-sensei kind of learning about Demis, but also making their lives more comfortable, and also watching over them for they can have a very good school life. That's kind of the main point of the series. Besides getting to see these little details about the characters, it's mainly about Takahashi-sensei making sure they're comfortable and having fun with their childhood. And in this case, we get to see from an outsider of how he views the school, how he sees how the Demis are being treated, but also what his job is outside of school, and how some might be trying to better the world just as how Takahashi-sensei is trying to better the world in the school. This police officer is trying to better the world outside, which that's his whole job. Even though he mainly focuses on Succubus, he still is trying to better the world. He's trying to make it to where they can live peaceful lives and they don't have a shitty life at all or mistreated. And I love the way the episode tries to dive into that. Kind of dives into this character, letting us know that he's very similar to Takahashi. Takahashi's a character that we know is very compassionate. He's someone that really cares, and he wants to respect what they are, but also he doesn't just view them as Demis, he views them as actual people as well. And that's kind of how the police officer is too. You can see his interactions with Succubus-sensei, that he does care about her. He watches over her, and she, he's making sure she's okay. And when he goes to meet Takahashi-sensei, you know that it's kind of like he's looking him down and over and all that, just to see if this man is a good person, if this man is not just, using, Succubus-sensei, or if he hasn't just fallen in love with her, or something's off with him. You see how he's kind of looking him over, trying to figure out if he was a good guy or not. That's kind of what a father would do for their daughter, and that's what you see right then and there, that he was just making sure that Takahashi-sensei was a good man, and I respect the way that was done. But on top of that, though, I love how adultish that scene was. I don't know how many caught that scene, but it's something that held a lot of weight to me when I was watching this episode. It was when the police officer, he went into the room to smoke, and it was like a smoking room. That's the only area like in the school that you're allowed to smoke in, and Takahashi-sensei, he walks inside this room and all that, and he actually pulls out cigarettes, and I'm like, whoa, Takahashi, he's smoking, and he states to the police officer, like, I don't normally smoke. I don't at all. Like, I barely smoke at all. But, and then, like, the police officer's like, oh, so you're doing it because, I'm here and all that. And what this meant is that normally in society, when you're trying to have a discussion with someone, or having a conversation, or even gatherings, sometimes you have to do things that you normally don't do. What I'm getting at is, it's like going to a gathering, a family meeting or something, or a big party, something everybody's celebrating, and sometimes they're serving out wine or something, and it might be respectful to actually have a cup or a toast of wine or something with the entire party. In this case, that's kind of what Takahashi-sensei was doing. It was like he was showing respect to the police officer. He's like, you know what, I'll, take a smoke, we'll sit down and chat. And it was kind of like he was being respectful towards him, but also saying, I would like to have a good conversation with you. So I like the direction of that scene and what it was really trying to show in terms of how gatherings are done in society. Now, many of us would do things that we normally wouldn't do, like, for instance, like, maybe smoking a cigarette, or, having a cup of wine or a beer or something. That's kind of what that scene was trying to show, and I do like that interaction of the series. I don't know if it was trying to mean that, but that's what I got from it. Now, besides that, there was other scenes in this episode, too, that was truly adorable, or just amazing the way it was done, and that was definitely the scene with Succubus-sensei and how she realized what Takahashi has been doing this entire time. He has been getting those feelings to where he's falling in love with her. He has been getting those effects from her the entire time, and she has finally realized that, but he has been resisting them, and the way she felt at that moment, I was just laughing, like, oh my god, like, she is straight up getting happy and excited that he actually felt something. But at the same time, though, the whole reason why she fell in love with him in the first place was because he didn't feel anything. So it's like a contradiction right there. But you gotta remember, from this perspective, though, she's probably gonna fall in love with him because he's able to resist her. He's able to just see her for who she is and not completely fall for her just because she has, these powers like a succubus. He's able to resist that and act normal around her, which probably makes him very attracted towards her, and that's why she's like, holy crap, I want him and all that. So I do hope before the series is said and done that those two definitely get together. I really would love to see these two characters become a couple before the series is said and done, because they're so adorable, and I just ship these two so much because of their interactions they had in this episode, or how, Succubus-sensei acts towards him, or how she tries to hide her feelings, but now she's happy because he did feel something in the entire time. So besides all of that, that's pretty much how the episode was. It was an enjoyable episode, focusing on two characters getting introduced, some adultish interactions between the characters, but also revolving around Succubus-sensei and kind of who raised her, helped her out, but also how, succubus are handled in society, because some of them, could either be good or bad. Not all of them are going to be like her, trying to distance themselves and be like model citizens. So that's a really cool aspect of the series, trying to give a little bit of world building to how the Demis interact in society. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You'll have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.